Hey everyone, welcome back. In this lesson, well, it's not really a lesson. In this video, we're just going to go over some of the concepts that we discussed in this unit. We've sort of covered everything that we really needed to, or everything that I really wanted us to get through for exponents, square roots and cube roots, and logarithms. So I'm just going to run through not really examples, but just a few things that you should be able to do as a sort of test review for your exponents and logarithms unit. So the main topics that we covered, so topics that you should be comfortable with, well, that's basically everything that we sort of covered. So first things first was exponents. So you should be able to compute something like, if I gave you 2 cubed, you should be able to turn that into 2 times 2 times 2 and give me an answer of 8. So that's something that you should be able to do when you're working with exponents. So that's the first main thing that you should be able to do for the test. The second thing is solving square roots by hand, so solving square roots manually. So that was the type of thing where we had our square root written out and we sectioned off the numbers, and then we went ahead and did the calculation to get our final answer for the square root of a number. So all the questions on the test for anything with solving square roots by hand will be a number where the square root is another whole number. So there won't be anything extra complicated, nothing harder than the things that we covered so far in this unit. So just being able to solve the square root probably of a 3-digit number, maybe 2 such questions, solving 2 square roots by hand. More focus on the exponent stuff in the first part of the test, so there'll be a variety of such questions on just going through the process of exponentiation. So I could give you something like 4 to the exponent 7 and 7 to the exponent 4, and you should be able to calculate both of those. Now, doing something like 4 to the exponent 7 would be a little bit cruel because you'll end up working with much bigger numbers. But up to something like 3 to the exponent 6, you start getting up there in terms of working with big numbers. So I'll try to keep the exponents reasonably small, because if you can do 4 cubed or 5 to the exponent 4, then it's the same idea as doing 12 to the exponent 12. You don't need to go ahead and actually compute that entire calculation, because I can see that you know what you're talking about when you're doing 5 to the exponent 4. It's the same idea as 12 to the exponent 12, just with smaller numbers. So it's not like they're going to be crazy hard questions. There might just be a handful of them that are that give slightly larger answers, and then a few that'll give some smaller answers. So like nothing smaller than 2 squared or something like that, but nothing larger than things like 3 to the exponent 6 or 4 to the exponent 6, things like that. So exponents larger than 6 probably won't show up unless it's like 10 to the exponent something, because that's a much easier thing to work with. But really don't worry too much about it. It'll be around the level of difficulty of the examples that we were talking about throughout this unit for working with exponents in this way. So have I lost my eraser? I have. Okay, I have it here. Yeah, so these are 2 of the main things that you should be able to do. There won't be too much emphasis on this stuff with the square roots on the test, just because it's a bit of a longer process. So it's not like there are going to be 3 or 4 or 5 questions. And honestly, because of the small range of questions that I could ask, that I could reasonably ask to sort of fit the criteria for the level of difficulty that I'm looking for, chances are there'll be repeats from either things we did in a previous video or things that were on your assignment. So it's probably going to be a 3-digit number. So like the number that you have to find the square root of will be a 3-digit number. So it'll be between 100 and 1,000. And we've covered a few of those in the lessons and a few more of those on the assignment. So it'll be probably 1 or 2 of those. So it won't be anything radically new or anything like that. Exponents, fairly simple stuff that we went through, so nothing overly complicated there. Hopefully no surprises there. And then topic number 3 that we focused on was logarithms. So when it comes to logarithms, you should be able to compute a single logarithm. So if I asked you to find like log base 2 of 32, you should be able to give me an actual answer for what is that equal to. You should also be able to work with logarithm rules. So the things that we talked about with like log of m times, can you see this? Yes, you can see it. So log of m times n, or log of m divided by n, things like that. You should be able to work with those logarithm rules on the test. And there won't be a huge focus on that, because for some of those it does take a little bit of work to compute the actual answer, and to just sort of trial and error your way to get to an answer can be a little bit of a process, which I don't want you guys to have to worry about too much. So the logarithm questions probably won't be dealing with huge numbers, and if they happen to be dealing with huge numbers, it'll be because there's a trick that you can use to simplify your life a lot. But it won't be anything insane. It'll be like most of the logarithms that we've dealt with in the videos. But yeah, hopefully no surprises on this test. If you want to see the things that you should be able to do in a slightly different setup, if you remember back when we started logarithms, I drew a little table. A little table of the things you know in a given question, and the things that you are expected to find in when you're working through the question. So I don't need that much space. So basically, the 3 sort of components that we were dealing with were the base, the exponent, and the answer, or the power. So that would be like 2 cubed equals 8, something like that. So here's your base, here's your exponent, and there was our answer. There was our final answer for the power, for the actual solution to 2 cubed. So if you're given the base and you're given the exponent, that would be something like 2 cubed equals what? Tell me what 2 cubed is equal to. That's what we started off the unit with. That was exponentiation, right? So just working with exponents. And so the answer is the thing that you have to provide me with. That's the thing that I don't give you. If you know the base and you know the answer, and you're looking for the exponent, so that would be like 2 to what exponent is going to equal 8. That's the last thing we did. That's logarithms. I'm writing them out of order here, but I'm writing them in order of the x's going down this way. So that's where you know the base, you know the target answer is 8, and I'm asking you for the exponent. So that's where logarithms come into play. And then for square roots and cube roots, I'm not going to ask you to solve a cube root by hand, but for example, it would be what number cubed is equal to 8. So I've given you the exponent, I've given you the answer, and I have not given you the base. That would be dealing with square roots and cube roots. So if I ask you for a cube root, when I make the test, I'll decide if I want to throw cube roots on there. It'll be one of the smaller ones. It would be something like 2 cubed is 8, something that you could use trial and error to just figure it out. Multiply 2 times 2 times 2 and see if it gives you the target answer. Do 3 times 3 times 3, see if it gives you the target answer. So you would know that you'd be cubing something, and you'd know the answer that you're targeting, so you could sort of reverse engineer your way to figure out what number is it that you're cubing. But chances are on the test I'm really only going to focus on the square root part of it, so you'll know you're squaring a number to get a larger number, and you want to find out what that base is. And so to do that, that was the whole solving square roots by hand. So basically there are three possibilities. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you the base and the exponent, and I'm going to ask you for this answer over here, or I'll give you the base and I'll give you the answer and I'm asking you for the exponent, or in the case of only numbers being squared or cubed, I'll give you the exponent, so it'll either be a 2 or a 3 depending on if it's squared or cubed, and I'll give you the target answer, and you have to tell me what number is it that I'm actually squaring or cubing. Alright, so that's basically it. Those are the things that you should be able to do for the test. Some of it is a little bit harder than other stuff, but I'm going to take that into account when I make the test. It'll be less of the harder stuff because, you know, some of these questions just take longer, so it's not like there are going to be 6 questions of solving square roots by hand, but there could be 6 questions of simple exponentiation problems. I give you the 2 and I give you the exponent 3 and I tell you, give me the answer. That's a much, much shorter question than, say, find the square root of 361, right? So yeah, so those are all the things that you need to know for your test. As always, if you would like any extra help, or if you have any questions about any of the stuff that we've covered, get in touch with me. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video when we start our new unit. Have a good one.